Okay, class. So let's get right into the PowerPoint here. So at the point that the Aztecs kind of throw the reins of Kukulkan off, they're kind of uh, a bit more on their own, but are under the Tepanex centered there at Tlacopan. And it takes them a long time, but eventually they get out from under that through conflict. And the next thing that happens is this, come on, PowerPoint, is this triple alliance where you've got three big city-state capitals, Tlacopan, Tenochtitlan, and Texcoco. And they are going to, now with the Tepanex and Tlacopan being subservient, right, to Tenochtitlan at this point, they're kind of be this sort of three-headed monster controlling the area where the Tepanex are controlling the west coast of the lake, the Texcoco's controlling the stuff to the east, and the Aztecs at Tenochtitlan get north and south. So you see here the formation of the Triple Alliance. Just a little aside on the writing system. So there's no full-fledged writing system for the Aztecs, but you do get certain signs, and a bunch of them are what we would term toponyms. So they are signs that represent places, and so you see the ones here, of course, the Tenochtitlan one having the cactus. So once that Triple Alliance forms, it becomes very expansionist. And what I previously mentioned in this kind of hegemonic strategy, they're just going in to sort of take control, show strength, and create tribute relationships. Here, so we have these nice contact period documents recording history, and this is kind of mid-expansion. The Aztecs are taking over the nearby market town of Tlatelolco. And I love it. You know, the conquering signs are little broken houses or little temples on fire. It's pretty cool. So the empire does get quite large, getting to the Pacific coast for sure. At its height, it had 10 million people. The principal goal, again, is taking resources through tribute relationships. And that's kind of shown or developed through conflict, or at least shows of strength. We'll get into that in a minute. So it expanded rapidly by taking advantage of pre-existing city-states, and like later Spanish made them dependent on the imperial center. So the Aztec Empire is never centrally controlled. That power is always sort of distributed through the entire network. So at the height of the empire, political organization and tribute, there were Altepetl are the different polities of the empire, and they are headed by a political person, a position known as a Tlatoani, and that's a hereditary position. Sometimes those are imposed, as I previously mentioned, so they get called Cuauhtlatoani, or the Calpishke stewards. And so they're going to supply warriors and materials for further expansionist campaigns or to quell revolts, that sort of thing. Labor and materials for public works. We're going to go over the kind of main temples there in the Aztec, in Tenochtitlan, in the Aztec capital, and then items for imperial festivals. The tribute is going to be collected on a sort of a regular schedule, but could also be demanded in the moment for a particular need. Here's another royal conquerings page here of Moctezuma. This one, Moctezuma II, very late in the history, right before Spanish contact. So you see that toponyms with the names written in our script as well. So the interesting thing is with the strategy of how did you conquer a new place for the empire, they engaged in what they called flower wars. So Xochi Yayoro. And essentially what they would do is march up the whole army, march up, and the bands blaring and playing, and they're dancing, and it's the whole thing. And they kind of just walk up and say, okay, you can join the party or we can massacre you. So it's up to you. And so a lot of these, conquerings were nonviolent, essentially. But I just love that they just, just bring it with bravado and music, and that would create the relationships that they wanted. You see here from the Codex Mendoza 2 pages of tribute lists. Take it, pause it here or look at the slide online in the PowerPoint. You can see on the left page jade beads, gold beads, shields, bolts of feathers. Here's honey down here. These are bolts of cloth up here. Again, on the right, more feathers, the jaguar pelts. Kind of interesting, must be coming from the east, right? No, jaguars in central Mexico. Turtles and dogs and all kinds of things. So interestingly, there are these holes in the empire. The Aztecs never conquered the Tarascans or the Tlaxcalans, and we'll see during the conquest, this is something the Spanish took advantage of. But it's kind of interesting having these core pieces not in the empire. They didn't, it wasn't always animosity. There were trade relationships, etc. But kind of interesting. I think another interesting way to look at the Aztec Empire is sort of the spread of look at it linguistically. What was that empire doing? What are its ramifications in the language? So if you look at the Uto-Aztecan here, these languages are all either descended directly or strongly informed by Nahuatl, right? And so you have here, but it goes all the way up in through here. So that obviously the empire didn't get that big, but in terms of trading relationships and those sorts of things, it had a very, very strong influence. All right, that is it for that piece. I'll see you in the next one.